Hello and welcome to my predictions video for game week 26 of the Premier League season. I'm going to do things a little bit differently this week, so instead of just rambling through the predictions that I got right or wrong last weekend at the start of the video, I'll just go through them as we go along through each match. So we start with the Saturday lunchtime match at Craven Cottage. It's Fulham against Manchester United. Now this one's live on Sky Sports with a 12:30 kickoff. Fulham actually last beat Manchester United at Craven Cottage back in December 2009 in a 3-0 Premier League win, with goals from Danny Murphy, Bobby Zamora and Damien Duff on that day. Fulham have only won one of the last 5 matches in all competitions, scoring 7 and conceding 10. They're also 7 points from safety and need to try to use the home advantage that they've got to find points from somewhere, because 7 points is starting to look quite far away at the moment. United have won 9 of the last 11 meetings with Fulham, drawing the other 2, and have an aggregate score of 30 goals to 9 in their last 11 games against Fulham. They are of course unbeaten in the 10 games since Solskjaer took charge and have scored a total of 25 goals across those matches, conceding just 7. United find themselves 2 points behind 4th place Chelsea and could see themselves in the Champions League places by the end of Saturday. Now I predicted Fulham to beat Palace last weekend and Manchester United to draw with Leicester. I of course got both of those wrong, as Palace went out and beat Fulham and then Man United narrowly won against Leicester. But I'm hoping this weekend it'll go a bit better for me, as I'm predicting a 2-1 Manchester United victory in the lunchtime kickoff on Saturday. Now for the 3 o'clock kickoffs, and we start with Selhurst Park. Or we start at Selhurst Park, I should say, with Crystal Palace against West Ham United. The last time Palace beat West Ham was in a 3-1 victory in February 2015. However, they haven't beaten them at Selhurst Park since Marouane Chamakh scored the only goal in a 1-0 league win in December 2013. Palace are, however, unbeaten in their last 3 games, scoring 5 and conceding 2. But they do have the 3rd worst home record in the league, having only won 3 of their 12 matches at home this season. One positive for Palace is that they managed to score at least 1 goal in each of the last 4 home games, however. West Ham won the reverse fixture 3-2 back in December, with goals from Snodgrass, Hernandez and Felipe Anderson. And they are unbeaten in 7 games against Palace, winning 4 of those. West Ham aren't in the best of form. They've only won 1 of the last 5, scoring 4 and conceding 10. They've also lost their last 4 away matches, scoring just 2 goals. Palace are currently 4 points clear of the relegation zone and be hoping to extend that on Saturday and not get dragged back into the relegation mix. Whereas West Ham are pretty much safe. They're 10 points clear of the team that occupies the last relegation place, Cardiff. Now I predicted both Palace and West Ham to lose last weekend. They didn't. Palace went on and beat Fulham 2-0, and West Ham obviously drew 1-1 with Liverpool. But this weekend, I think they're going to cancel each other out. I'm not predicting either of them to lose. I think it's going to be a 1-1 draw. Palace, of course, with that record of scoring in the last 4 home games, and West Ham, I think they'll be able to grab a goal as well. So I'm going for a 1-1 draw at Selhurst Park on Saturday. Now we head to Huddersfield for a big game for them against Arsenal. Well, I say big game, obviously. They're not expected to pick up any points against the sides, the calibre of Arsenal, but every game's a big game for Huddersfield now. They're not doing very well at all. They need to start picking up points, and will they be able to do that on Saturday? Guessing probably not. Especially given the fact that Huddersfield haven't won against Arsenal since a 2-1 Division 1 match all the way back in January 1971. And they haven't won in the league since a 2-0 victory at Wolves on the 25th of November, and haven't won at home since a 1-0 win over Fulham on the 5th of November. Huddersfield have the worst home record in the Premier League so far this season, with just 1 win and 2 draws in 13 games. And they haven't scored in the last 5 matches and have conceded 10 goals in those games. Arsenal have won 9 of their last 11 games against Huddersfield by an aggregate score of 21 goals to 3. But they have lost 3 of the last 5 matches, scoring 6 and conceding 8. And they've only won 1 of the last 5 away matches as well. Huddersfield, as I said earlier, are currently 13 points from safety, whereas Arsenal are sitting 3 points outside of the Champions League places after dropping out of them last weekend by losing to City. Obviously Chelsea play City this weekend, so Arsenal will be hoping to win on Saturday, and then that'll put them level on points with Chelsea. I predicted both Huddersfield and Arsenal to lose last week, and they did. Of course, Chelsea beat Huddersfield and Arsenal lost to Man City. This weekend, I am going for a solid Arsenal win, a 3-0 victory for Arsenal. I can't see Huddersfield getting anything from this game whatsoever. I think Huddersfield are practically doomed to relegation unless a miracle happens. Now we go to Anfield and we go for Liverpool against Bournemouth. Now I'm starting to think I might be a bit of a jinx for Liverpool, because for the past 2 weeks I've said that they would win their games and they have in fact drawn them. But I don't agree with all this kerfuffle in the media saying that Liverpool have bottled it. They have put in 2 pretty poor performances, but you can't define someone as bottling it until the competition's over. We've still got 13 games, something like that, left of the season. So maybe come back at the end of the season and say that we've bottled it if we do lose the title. But Liverpool with a good chance to regain the lead, at least for a day, in the Premier League on Saturday when they come up against Bournemouth. Now Liverpool have got a good record against Bournemouth. They've won their last 3 by an aggregate score of 11-0. But like I said before, they are currently suffering their worst run of form this season so far, with the 2 draws against West Ham and Leicester. But that's got to turn around at some point. Liverpool have got a very long unbeaten record at home. They haven't lost there since April 2017 when Crystal Palace beat them. Bournemouth have only beaten Liverpool once in their history. That was a 4-3 win a couple of seasons back, with Nathan Ake scoring the winner. Or Nathan Ake, don't know. Bournemouth are in okay form at the moment. They've won 2 of the last 5, including that 4-0 victory against Chelsea. However, they've only won 3 away league games this season. The last win away from home was a 3-0 victory over Fulham at Craven Cottage in October. Now, of course, after Wednesday's game, Liverpool are level on points with Manchester City at the top of the table, only second on goal difference, and they'll be hoping to regain their position at the top of the table ahead of City facing Chelsea on Sunday. Bournemouth, on the other hand, are sat squarely in mid-table, 10th in the league. They can jump up to 8th if they beat Liverpool at Anfield. Last weekend, I predicted Liverpool to beat West Ham and Bournemouth to lose, and Liverpool, of course, drew with West Ham, as we've already said. When Bournemouth did lose, they lost to Cardiff City 2-0. But this weekend, I'm not going for as big a scoreline as I went for the past few weeks with the Liverpool games, but I am still going for them to win, because I've got to, and I just hope that we can get out of this poor run of form. I'm going to go for a 3-2 win. There's going to be goals, I'm guessing, judging by the way our defence has been playing with all the injuries and everything. But I do think we're going to win. I think we're going to win 3-2 at Anfield on Saturday. Southampton against Cardiff is up next. And Southampton haven't beaten Cardiff since a 3-0 Premier League victory on Boxing Day 2013. And they haven't beaten Cardiff at home since a 1-0 Championship win back in February 2009. Southampton are, however, unbeaten in their last 5 matches, but they've only scored 6 goals and they've conceded 4. Southampton also have the second worst home record in the league so far this season, but they've only lost 4, drawing 6, so draw specialists at home it would seem. Cardiff have won their last 2 games against Southampton by a scoreline of 1-0, but they've only won 1 of the last 6 matches. They've scored just 3 goals in that time and conceded 9. Cardiff have the second worst away record in the league this season, losing 9 and winning just 1 of the last 12 away matches. This one's a pretty big game in the relegation picture for the season. Southampton are just 2 points clear of Cardiff, who occupy the final relegation place as of right now, meaning that Southampton could end up in the relegation zone if they lose to Cardiff on Saturday. Now, last weekend I predicted that Southampton would draw with Burnley. I predicted they'd draw 2-2. They ended up drawing 1-1, but still got a result right. And I predicted that Cardiff would beat Bournemouth 1-0. They managed to beat them 2-0. But they're probably my best results from last weekend, to be honest. This week I am going for the narrowest of home victories. Southampton are going to beat Cardiff. And the final 3 p.m. game on Saturday is at Vicarage Road. It's Watford against Everton. Now, Watford won this fixture 1-0 in the Premier League last season thanks to a Troy Deeney goal, and they've only lost 1 of the last 8 matches, scoring 11 goals in those games. Watford have, however, only won 1 of the last 5 matches at home, whereas Everton have only won 1 of their last 5 in all competitions, conceding 10 goals in those games. They last beat Watford at Vicarage Road in a 3-0 Premier League win back in February 2007. Everton have won 2 of the last 5 away matches. However, they've only won 3 of their 12 away matches in the league this season. Everton, of course, played on Wednesday, so they have 1 more game. They've played 1 more game than Watford, but can overtake them and move up to 8th in the table, at least for the time being, with a victory on Saturday. Last week, I predicted Watford to beat Brighton, but that, of course, ended in a draw. And I predicted Everton to lose to Wolves and Manchester City, which they did, obviously losing 3-1 to Wolves and then losing 2-0 midweek to Manchester City. And this week, I am predicting a 2-1 Watford victory. I think Everton are going to continue to lose, unfortunately. Now on to Saturday's tea time game, which is live on BT Sport with a 5:30 kickoff. It's Brighton against Burnley. Now, 5 of the last 6 matches between these two have ended as draws, so that could be seen as a sign of what's to come for Saturday's game. And Brighton last beat Burnley in a 2-0 victory in the Championship back in August 2013, with Andrew Crofts and Leonardo Ulloa getting the goals that day. Brighton have only won 1 of the last 6 games, which was their midweek FA Cup 4th round replay against West Brom, where they won 3-1 after extra time. Brighton have got a pretty good record at home this season, though. They've only lost 3 games at home. They've won 5 and drawn 4 in the league, that is. Brighton have drawn 3 of their last 5 home games, scoring and conceding just 2 goals in those games. The reverse fixture back in December was won by Burnley very narrowly with a James Tarkowski goal, the only goal of the game, in a 1-0 win. And Burnley have drawn 3 of their last 5 games and are unbeaten in 6 league games. They've managed to score 9 and conceded 5 in those 6 matches. However, Burnley have won just twice away from home this season in the league. Burnley are also only 2 points clear of the relegation zone, but they could move level on points with Brighton if they do pick up a victory on Saturday. Now, I predicted Brighton to lose against Watford and West Brom last week. They drew with Watford and obviously beat West Brom, as I previously said. But as I've also said, I guess the Burnley result right, they drew with Southampton. But this week, I am going for a Brighton victory. I think Brighton are going to win 2-1. Obviously, they picked up a victory midweek against West Brom. I think they're going to continue the momentum and just get more points to take them further away from any relegation trouble. Now on to Sunday's matches, and we've got 3 games left, 2 on Sunday, 1 on Monday, and we start with Spurs against Leicester. This one's live on Sky Sports with a 1:30 kickoff. Spurs have won the last 2 meetings between these two sides with an aggregate score of 7 goals to 4. Spurs have also won 3 of the last 5 games in all competitions, and they haven't drawn at home all season. They've won 8 of their 12 games in the league at home this season so far. Spurs have also won 3 of the last 5 home games, scoring and conceding 5 in those games. Now, Leicester last won at Spurs in a league match back in 2016 in a 1-0 victory, Robert Huth getting the goal that day. Leicester aren't in the best of form currently. They are without a win in 5 matches and have only won 2 of the last 5 away games. Now, depending on what happens in the Liverpool game on Saturday, Spurs could be within 2 points of the top of the table if they beat Leicester on Sunday. Obviously, that would be reliant on a Liverpool loss. Now, I predicted both Spurs and Leicester would draw their games last weekend. Spurs obviously went on and narrowly beat Newcastle 1-0, and Leicester were narrowly defeated by Manchester United 1-0. This weekend, I think Spurs are going to win again. I think it's going to be 2-1. I think it could be another late one, you know. Past 2 games, Spurs have been scoring in injury time. I think it could happen again. Perhaps Llorente comes off the bench and scores a goal. Now on to the biggest game at the top of the table this weekend, and that is from the Etihad Stadium. It's Manchester City, who are currently top of the table, against Chelsea, who are in the final Champions League qualification spot. And this one's live on Sky Sports as well with a 4 PM kickoff, and City won this fixture 1-0 last season with Bernardo Silva getting the only goal. City, of course, are in pretty excellent form at the moment, winning 6 of the last 7 in the league, scoring 17 goals in those games. City have the best home form in the league this season, winning 12 and losing just once. And they've won their last 6 home games in all competitions, scoring 29 goals and conceding just 2. Chelsea, meanwhile, actually won the reverse fixture 2-0 back in December with Kante and David Luiz grabbing the goals for them. The last time that Chelsea won at the Etihad Stadium was in a 3-1 league win back in 2016. Chelsea have won 3 of the last 5 in all competitions, but they've lost 3 of the last 5 away games. City are, of course, top of the table on goal difference, but they could find themselves back in 2nd place if Liverpool don't lose on Saturday to Bournemouth. Chelsea could fall out of the Champions League places if Manchester United and or Arsenal pick up points on Saturday. Obviously need to win, not just pick up points. If Manchester United or Arsenal win on Saturday, then Chelsea will be out of the Champions League places come the start of this game. Last week, I predicted City to beat both Arsenal and Everton, which they did quite comprehensively. 3-1 against Arsenal, 2-0 against Everton. And I predicted Chelsea would beat Huddersfield, and they went on and won 5-0. This week, however, I'm going to go for a City win. I think City are going to win 2-1. I really want Chelsea to win, but it's smart to go for a City victory. And the final match of this weekend's round of Premier League matches is from Molineux. It's Monday Night Football. It's Wolves against Newcastle, live on Sky Sports again with an 8 p.m. kickoff. The last time Wolves beat Newcastle at Molineux was in the third round of the FA Cup, all the way back in 2003 when Alan Shearer was playing. Wolves, of course, won 3-2 that day. Wolves are in excellent form at the moment. They've won 4 of the last 5 games. I think the one game that they lost was against City as well, so that doesn't really count because they're obviously heads and shoulders above most of the teams in the league. And Wolves have managed to score 3 goals or more in 4 of their last 5 league games as well. Obviously the City game, the only one where they didn't score 3 or more goals. Wolves pretty decent at home as well. They've won 4 of the last 5 at Molineux. Newcastle have won 2 of the last 3 games against Wolves with an aggregate score of 4 goals to 2, so pretty narrow margins in the goal scoring department. Newcastle coming into good form as well. They've won 3 of the last 5 games, scoring 9 and conceding 6. They obviously beat City the other week and played pretty well against Spurs without creating too many chances. Newcastle not with the best of away records, however, this season. They've only won 2 games away from home in the league all season. But Newcastle are just 2 points clear of the relegation zone, but could move higher in the table, obviously, with a victory against Wolves. They'll be wanting to build a bit of a gap between themselves and whoever's in the final relegation spot come Monday, because that could even be Newcastle, I guess. Last week, I predicted that Wolves would beat both Everton and Shrewsbury, and they did so, scoring 3 goals in each game. I also predicted Newcastle would draw 1-1 with Spurs, but of course, as we know, Spurs won 1-0. And this Monday, I'm predicting a Wolves victory. I think Wolves are going to score 3 again. I think they will win 3-1. And Wolves are going to turn into a pretty decent club. I wouldn't be surprised to see them challenging for Champions League places in a few years' time, to be honest. I know there's lots of money going in there, but I think they're slowly building up. I mean, to have your first season and be in the top 10 in your first season is pretty good going. It's just whether they can keep it going. And I think they will be able to. We could have a top 7 on our hands in 5 years' time. That's all my predictions for Game Week 26 of the Premier League. Let me know your predictions, your thoughts on my predictions in the comment section down below. Hit the like button if you enjoyed this video. Subscribe to my channel to get all my content when it comes out. And I'll see you next time.